Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Good evening, everyone. 2 hospitals are closing and around 1,000 people will be forced into lockdown as part of the government's rollout of new extreme measures to tackle the coronavirus outbreak on the state's northwest coast. It comes as a woman in her 70s became the state's 5th person to die from the disease today. Premier Peter Gutwein has described the situation as being the fight of our lives as case numbers surge and our death toll rises.
Words we never thought we'd hear.
What this plan will do begins with a closure, a temporary closure and deep clean of the Northwest Regional Hospital and the Northwest Private Hospital.
I want to be clear that closing a hospital is not something that we do lightly.
Measures rolled out to keep the virus from seeping further into our communities. An extensive clean of both sites to be conducted as an immediate priority.
This clean, known as a super clean, is a serious infection control measure done by specialist cleaning teams.
A reaction to the nightmare evolving situation. All staff from those hospitals and their households will be forced into isolation.
Will be required to undergo 14 days of quarantine isolation from their last day of work. We expect that this will be more than 1,000 people. Existing
patients will be transferred to the Mersey and extra staff deployed there.
Additional PPE will be pre-positioned at the hospital and it will be provided and used to ensure that we minimise any risk of infection transmission.
Other health services in the area will be bolstered.
We will progressively restart services over the coming fortnight. However, our absolute priority is the emergency department.
Retail stores, including Kmart and Target, will close, but essential services will remain open. The Premier says the goal is to return to a semblance of normality within a fortnight.
We've just put thousands of people out of work and shut down hundreds of businesses. And what that will do is ensure that less people move around the community.
And the decision taken by the government today is the right one and we support them with it.
These measures are a desperate attempt to prevent more tragedies. Overnight, another death. An elderly lady succumbed to the virus in the northwest. She's the 5th person to die in the state, but we're warned, not the last. 11 more cases confirmed since yesterday. We've now reached 133.
But now we have this outbreak. What we have to do is manage it, get on top of it and beat it.
An anxious time for all Tasmanians holed up during a very different Easter. Louise Huber, 7 Tasmania News.
17 people have been summoned to appear in court for coronavirus breaches in the last 24 hours. Police were today conducting spot checks in Longford, ensuring drivers are only leaving home for essential outings.
Some actually have legitimate reasons for being where they are, others don't, and then in those cases they might be proceeded against, arrested or given a warning.
Dozens of people have been directed to leave their shacks over the Easter break. Meanwhile, Tasmania Police are also hunting for a masked offender who stormed a Subway store and threatened a staff member at knife point. The male offender stole money from the Ulverston business and quickly fled the scene. He's described as being a thin build and approximately 180 centimetres tall. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Despite Tasmanian borders being shut, one special visitor was granted an exemption. The Easter Bunny delivering children an abundance of sweets. It was an Easter Sunday like never before as health restrictions uproot traditions.
On the most holy day of the year for the church, scenes of congregational joy were lost behind a screen.
And this is probably the first time in the history of the Christian church that we haven't had people physically gathering together right around the world.
Parishioners tuning in to live streams of Catholic services in Launceston. And Hobart, searching for meaning amid global uncertainty.
And I think people could be very deeply engaged with Easter in a way that they haven't perhaps in times past.
But for some of our youngest minds, their faith was invested in someone else.
Who's that? Easter Bunny just came and gave me chocolate.
Hopping across the globe for early morning deliveries of precious cargo.
Just some chocolate and that.
The Easter Bunny landing on the doorsteps of unsuspecting Kings Meadows kids.
We usually have an Easter hunt, but since we can't because of the coronavirus, we've just been delivering them ourselves for not getting too close.
No neighbourhood egg hunt, but that didn't stop families from scattering their own sweet stashes.
I got one!
A day filled with chocolate galore, a sugar rush parents may be cursing well into the night. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
A dramatic police operation unfolded on the suburban streets of Hobart this morning as an alleged offender attempted to flee from authorities. Members of the public are being praised for their quick thinking and assistance in tracking down the man wanted on a range of offences.
Easter Sunday peace broken. The Newtown area a hive of activity, with police scaling fences, scouring backyards and scoping from the sky. This is the search for a man who fled following an alleged violent assault this morning.
Obviously a very public assault of a serious nature is totally unacceptable.
Onlookers praised for quickly alerting authorities.
Tasmania Police would like to thank members of the public who rang in this morning to advise us of a violent domestic that was occurring in Elizabeth Street.
Finally, after saturating this suburban street, the man was arrested just after 11 as stunned locals watched on.
We know the offender jumped a number of fences and went through a number of yards, and it probably caused some concerns to residents, but with the amount of police we had in there, I'm sure they were very confident that we had the matter under control.
Escorted into police custody in the back of a paddy wagon. While the man was arrested following this morning's alleged incident, police say he was also wanted for a number of other matters.
Clearly the lockdown has been complied with because all the people that were home, they've been able to help us out with a lot of information, so that's fantastic.
Louise Huber, 7 Tasmania News.
Closed restaurants, shutters down at stores and cancelled festivals and footy games. It's hard to believe it all happened in the space of a month. With Tasmania's virus death toll now at 5 and cases surpassing 100, tonight we take a look back on the turbulent lead up to the biggest crisis the state has faced.
At the start of 2020, the problems of COVID-19 looked like just a drop in the ocean. Those who catered the Chinese travellers were the first to be hit by the wave.
Our tourists have declined from the 10 to 15%. It's a really big trouble to us.
Fishermen were next to find themselves caught in the storm, carrying crayfish with no market to sell to.
Could be months, it could be 12 months, no one knows. I'm sort of in touch with our cray buyer every day and it's the same answer every day, don't know.
Further abroad, Tasmanians became trapped on quarantined cruise ships.
They came in and took our temperature and went away, and then there was another knock at the door and there was a little group of Japanese health workers all gowned up and everything.
Ironically, other vessels switch routes to Hobart, providing false glimmers of hope.
Docked on the wharf, this cruise ship was meant to be heading towards Asia.
The dreaded moment arrived on the 2nd of March.
Good evening, everyone. It's here. Health authorities have confirmed the coronavirus has reached Tasmania.
Authorities confirming the 40-year-old landed in Launceston on Saturday, flying from Iran.
Dozens more cases would follow in the weeks to come. But there was also joy, as some fought their way out of the nightmare.
I'm feeling glad to be home.
Then came the cancellations. Every major event in the months ahead wiped off the calendar. The flame of Hobart's Winter Festival extinguished.
Unfortunately, we've had to call the Dark Mofo 2020 version off this year due to coronavirus concerns, essentially.
Days later, the Premier told cruise ships to turn around.
We will direct TasPorts to suspend all cruise ship visits to our ports until the 30th of June.
Borders tightened, international arrivals had to self-isolate for a fortnight. The same soon applied to domestic travellers.
It's heartbreaking for people like my sister, who's getting married on Saturday, and now most of her wedding party won't be able to come.
Weddings and funerals face the axe, with indoor gatherings limited to only 100 people, and eventually only 5. No one would be tying the knot.
When you have brides crying on the phone, I mean, things are pretty devastating, aren't they?
Sport crumbled with footy seasons in the state and local leagues postponed. Gil McLaughlin broke the news millions feared. AFL matches would be on hold until May 31. The one-day international at Blunston Arena also struck off. More pain followed as the Prime Minister called last drinks.
She's all over.
Shockwaves were terrible and immediate. Federal groups stood down 1,500 Tasmanians at hotels and casinos.
It's absolutely devastating. I can't express the feeling in the room last night when we discovered what we would need to do.
Livelihoods ended at the stroke of midday.
I'm not going to stay upstairs and cry about it. I'll just get on with my life, but yeah, we don't know. I don't know.
Some would turn to takeaway. Salamanca still became a ghost town.
Today's by far the saddest day we've ever had in business. We had to let 75 workers go from our hospitality group.
As shutters came down at stores, government scrambled billions to help business, and those now queuing at Centrelink.
The forced sacking of tens of thousands of our fellow Tasmanians this week, at the stroke of my pen, broke my heart. Tasmanians, do not let their sacrifice be in vain. Follow the rules and save lives.
Anxious parents were told they could keep their kids at home. However, schools controversially remained open.
Teachers are anxious and they're stressed. They're confused about the safety conditions that are being outlined by the Prime Minister and the Premier in regards to students being safe at schools.
Orders came for tourists towing caravans to pack up and go home, leading to a desperate dash to Devonport.
Frustrated, lost, angry, all those things.
All returning travellers were bussed to government-run quarantine. On March 30, COVID-19 claimed its first Tasmanian life, a woman in her 80s in the state's northwest. After more deaths, the Premier moved to prevent further tragedies. His orders would become a plea over the days and weeks.
This means that unless you are going to work or school, getting essential or medical supplies, exercising or providing compassionate care, you will need to remain in your primary place of residence. And you will be committing an offence if you don't.
But the crisis continues to bring out the best in many.
More than 300 Easter eggs have been collected by the Guildford Young College community, ready to go into homes of hundreds of isolated and elderly residents.
With an entire state now at home, watching, waiting and hoping, imagination might just be the answer to tough times.
We love it and we wanted to make people happy.
Life can still be bright, even when the world is at its darkest.
Well, Mona is doing its bit to keep Tasmanians entertained during the lockdown period by switching on a massive public art installation. The iconic piece Spectra, which beams a light 15 kilometres into the night sky, will be lit up every Saturday evening until sunrise, until the museum can open again. The work can be seen up to 100 kilometres away, and Mona says it's a way to keep the community connected and symbolises hope during this uncertain time.
Good evening everyone. Temperatures slightly below average for Easter today, with Devonport 19 degrees, 18 in Launceston, Burnie 17 and Hobart reaching 16. Across the state, St Helens the top reaching 20 degrees, Friendly Beaches 19, 17 in Low Head, 16 for Flinders Island, Smithton and Ouse, 15 in Grove and King Island and Strawn reaching 14. Low-level cloud can be seen over the west of the state today, however much less cloud can be seen over the northeast. Across Australia, low-level cloud is seen over the ocean and coast to the south of the country. A small amount of afternoon convection can be seen over the far north of Australia, while the rest of the country is mostly cloud-free. Tomorrow's chart shows a high over the southeast of Australia. A trough lies over inland Queensland and Western Australia, while a cold front approaches southwest Western Australia. Southwesterly winds 15 to 25 knots tomorrow, tending west to northwesterly 10 to 15 knots during the morning and early afternoon. Hobart, cloudy and 17 tomorrow, 16 and possible light showers in Dover, Ouse, 17 and cloudy. Early fog and 17 in Launceston, Devonport 17 and partly cloudy, 16 in Scottsdale and becoming cloudy. Burnie and Stanley light showers and 17 degrees, showers and 16 in Strawn. And in the east, St Helens and Swansea 17 and partly cloudy and 16 in Ross. Looking on to Tuesday now, showers mainly about the west. Showers on Wednesday increasing to rain from the northwest. And on Thursday, rain contracting to the west in the afternoon. Adelaide, sunny and 23 tomorrow. Melbourne, 18. Mostly sunny in Canberra and Sydney. 27 in Brisbane and Darwin, 34 degrees. And currently, Hobart, 14 degrees and cloudy. Launceston, partly cloudy and 14. And also Devonport, 14 and partly cloudy. And Rach, that's Easter Sunday's weather.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that, Chelsea. Well, that's all your news for now. Tune in to the latest with Michael Usher and Melissa Doyle at 8:30 tonight for all the latest on Tasmania's coronavirus situation. That's all from us. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rachel Williams. Good night.